All right. Just talking to the players, what I appreciate about this group is the physical nature we played with. We played with great effort. All that was there, but it was in the execution of the fundamentals and techniques. And that's not just the players, it's coaches as well, making sure we're getting into the right schemes at the right times. That's a weekly process, and it was no different yesterday. We got to look at the film and be truthful about it, be studs about it so we can make the improvement going forward. And, the players' spirit of the locker room, the players are, obviously upset for the loss. And we had an opportunity right in front of us and played tough, made enough plays, but we gave them some stuff. And I got to give the Saints credit. They executed their game plan well, and they did a good job there. And we didn't execute ours to the finish of it. And especially in some of those situations, some of the penalties that we had, giving them, multiple third downs in different ways. So on both sides, really just it's important for us to look at this one, to grow from it, to make sure that we just get back to really good football.
Dave, on the play before the fourth down attempt,
yeah,
it seemed like Bryce changed the protection or audibled out of play.
Yeah.
But Chuba kind of had some confusion there. What happened on that play?
It was just a miscommunication on the call. I may have left out a word. Bryce had called it a certain way, realized we were backwards on it, got Chuba into the right spot by the end of the play. So there was just a miscommunication on that one.
Was that supposed to be a keeper?
No.
Tyler Shuck said that he sold the injury on that ransom hit. I want to know your thoughts on that. Did you think of that in the moment? And then also selling injuries in that.
I won't even comment on that. I just know for us, I just try to look at our responsibility of it. Those are really difficult situations. Derek's and Lathan's, same thing. These are bang decisions. They happen so fast. And you have to be able to make that judgment call. This guy's a runner. He's a threat to run. We've seen that over the last couple of weeks. And so you have to be ready to get him down. We've also seen different situations where if you let up and all of a sudden the quarterback steals a bunch of extra yards up the sideline. And so we have to be ready to play the physical game the way it is. And then there's that split second where you have to try to find an angle to avoid that massive collision in those spots. And it's as difficult for us as it is for the official trying to officiate that part. Did he hit him forcibly? Did he give himself up in that time? So those are really challenging spots.
Did you send in the league?
George and I got to talk about what we'll send.
You guys have been successful in fourth downs. I don't know what the numbers are in terms of your fourth and short success rate, but you've also been reluctant to use Bryce in sneak situations.
Yeah.
Why is that? And have you given any thought to doing like a Taysom Hill type thing with somebody else?
We're working on stuff. With Bryce, it's physics. He goes about 190 pounds. And when you have a 220, 230-pound quarterback leaning on a center, that's an advantage. When you're not putting a bunch of force that way, I don't see that as an advantage. The other part is I like to leverage off of some of the formations we use to throw shots down the field. You get into a third and inches, and you're in dive or belly type of plays. It allows you to try to throw a keeper, throw a play action. And we've had some success, over the course of the last two seasons, finding explosives and short yardage at a higher rate than most teams who are going to sneak it. It's great to have a sneak. It's great when you can just, if it's half a yard or something like that, and you can execute it with your quarterback, it's great to have that in your back pocket. But, that's not our style, and so we just try to maximize our approach.
Dave, I know Brad's next to you on the sideline. You guys are constantly communicating. But from a situational football standpoint, taking in the information, the flow of the game, and then deciding on a play call, how difficult has that been to balance throughout the last 2 years as you've had those two responsibilities?
It's challenging, and it's also really fun. These are high-stakes situations, and it goes with a lot of conversations on the front end. Who are we playing? What's the mode of the game? This is George Lee and I having a lot of those conversations. So we haven't fully predetermined, but we're ready to be more aggressive in certain spots, and we may say, okay, let's take the no-brainers, and we'll talk about the other ones. In other games, it's like, shoot, we're in the next tier of it, and then let's start talking if it gets into, a 50-50 type of situation. So all that stuff happens on the front end, which prepares me to be ready for it. And then on top of it, George does a great job of letting me know on first down. We get an earned first, and we run a play, and he's like, 4 or less is a go, 2 or less is a go. And so I have that 2 plays ahead of in my mind to try to set that part up.
How do you, with that said though, how do you not be reactionary when something's not working early on in the game and just taking that out of the elements of the plays? Like for instance, if the run game is not working off the jump,
Yeah.
how do you stop yourself from kind of falling into that?
That all factors into it, and it's similar with the 2-point play, and some of the different strategies for like going for 2 when you're down 14. It matters how you got down there, and that's a conversation that we've also had. It's not just this number, it's not just this analytics thing. It's okay. My primary target on these 2-point plays just scored a 40-yard touchdown and he's exhausted, or we just had a 13-play drive and Rico or Chuba is gassed and my best 2-point play is a run. There's all these factors that go into it. So you have to start off with the numbers. You have to start off with what does the book say, and then you have to make a judgment call on the humans that you're trying to execute it with.
What happened with Turk Orton?
Walk through hamstring. I don't really. Should I get into it, Bruce, at all? Is that all right if I do? Okay. He tripped. He tripped on a teammate and put his foot down to try to gather himself, and that was enough to do it. And it was really unfortunate. I think that's in my 16 years, that's the first time that's ever happened. Really unfortunate for Turk. He was excited to be out there. He was very upset, very disappointed. But we'll try to get him turned around, and we'll get the full, what that looks like on Wednesday.
You guys have had success playing kind of as an underdog and winning games like that. But it's been since 2021, well before you were here, that this team has won as a favorite.
Wow.
Is there something to winning when you're, I say supposed to win, but when you're favored to win? Is there a learning process in that goes along with the growth of a team?
I think there certainly is. I hope that's not a factor for us. I see the inconsistency of play that we can have at times, and to me, this is a group that is still growing in terms of just finding week in and week out success that way, and that's what I really attribute it to. That's what it looks like on film. I didn't know that number that you brought up, and of course, these are different coaches happening, and these are different players. This is a totally different team, and so there are challenges. I know that you have to expect a team's best, and I know that when you go into a game as a favorite or you start to build some momentum, the team also sees that and they're aware, like, hey, let's go, and it calls on them to give their best. I hope we can find that on a weekly basis. So.
Scott said it.
I scored on another opening drive, but the second quarter struggles continued.
Yeah.
11-minute drive certainly didn't help, just standing on the sidelines. But is there a way to get over that pre-half lull that the team has been in all year?
Yeah, this one was avoid penalties. So we had a penalty that set us back in the drive, and we were not able to overcome that adversity. So simply put, I wouldn't kind of broad stroke this in any. It continues to become a factor, but we had a successful drive in the 2-minute and got points out of it. So. Yes, I would love to have that consistent execution.
Glassed in the point differential in the second quarter. So
yeah, that's wild.
There was 20 combined penalties yesterday. Was that a crew known for throwing more flags?
Yeah, we looked at the numbers of what they called. They did call a lot of flags, and that was pretty consistent with it. And I really didn't have a lot of problem with most of their calls.
Last time you guys lost to the Saints, you said you took it personally the way you guys lost. Following this game, Nick Scott said something to the effect of, we look like we had come off a bye week. What does that mean to you, and what does that say about the way you guys prepared coming into the game?
I like the way we prepared. The guys had a great look in their eyes all week. They were excited about the opportunity, understanding what we're playing for, all that, felt the focus was there. It was not clean enough from an execution standpoint, and whether that's the bye week or whatever, it doesn't matter. We have to be able to execute at the most basic, fundamental part of our football.
Your team, like on this Tell the Truth Monday, what are the vibes that are coming out of this game after watching the tape?
Still a really excited group, and I was waiting to see what the full group was going to feel like, because the locker room feels one way right immediately in the loss, and then when you come back together, and all the guys, you go back on the plane, they got their iPads and they're watching it. They want to see what happens, and a lot of them, there's some closure in that, and also just preparing themselves for this day when we all get back together and speak specifically, so it's not the first time you get eyes on it. But there's great energy. There's great energy in the room, and I love this team. I love the fearlessness, the courage of this team, the finish, the grit, the physicality, all those things that we play with, and just trying to talk to the group and say, guys, we owe it to ourselves to do right so that shows up consistently. Because when we play the style of ball that we play and watch how we just continue to finish and fight through the game, all the way through the fourth quarter, we owe it to ourselves to just show up with that consistency all the way through for all the hard work that's been put into it. And that's the part that hopefully we understand. And we know what's in front of us right here with the Bucs, and we know the opportunity we have to come play in Bank of America Stadium, to be at home here for this game, and to get back on track with our football. And there's some great stuff that happened. And when you look at this is how we win. I show them the critical variables of it, and we did a great job taking care of the ball till the very, very last play. We tried the rugby play and really couldn't even get it started. And defensively, the big hit by Mike Jack on the jet sweep, and the ball pops up, they end up with it. And a great hit on Jawan Johnson down there in the red zone, and ball falls right back into his lap. And there was some amazing opportunities. 5 sacks, we didn't get a ball out. That's a credit to Tyler Shuck taking care of the ball in those situations, but getting our pass rush going. Like, so many good things. Bryce making plays, picking up 3 third downs with his legs. However you can get them, you get them. Chuba and a great effort on a screenplay. All these things mount up to there's stuff here, but consistency, right? And then the penalty thing that just kind of popped up out of nowhere is something we got to clean up.
You said you wanted to look at the film to see what went wrong when Olavi took the game over. What did go wrong?
On the touchdown?
No, that whole drive, because you guys blanketed him.
Absolutely. We were totally disjointed on the back end. And that part is something we're talking about right now. And it was, it was the linebacker hook droppers, the carry players, all those things. It was completely disjointed. They did a great job of staying on the ball and really just kind of executing a couple of plays and finding the completions there. But I don't want to get into the specifics of the breakdowns of all that, but these are like base calls that we had to be more connected on.
All that was disjointed, or the communication in the back?
It was the communication. It was the communication that was disjointed, and just guys not owning their landmarks in it.
What do you attribute the inconsistencies to? I mean, I think since October you haven't had 2 wins in a row. It's every other week. So what do you attribute that to? Is it just being a young team or what?
Identity. Yeah, this team trying to find an identity of professionalism, of maturity, to just have that consistent outcome weekly. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're shooting for. That is our best football. That's what we have to go find. And that's the challenge that we all have as a staff, and certainly the players as well. We're all in this thing together, and we have to find consistency, because that's what really good teams look like, is they show up week in and week out, and they do the basic parts of their job to where the other opponent should have to make spectacular plays to win the game if we all do our jobs well, whether that's offense or defense or special teams. If we execute our technique, if we do right, and we grade out at a really high standpoint, and our technique is right, then it should take an excellent effort by the opponent. And those things happen. And you got to live with those. You got to live with those individual wins and losses across the league, on the field, play to play. But the more that we can minimize the things that are given because we have poor technique, or the things that are given because we missed an assignment, we have to get that out of our game. And certainly the penalty thing needs to be cleaned up as well.
We're going to do Steve, and we're going to be Darren, and then we're closing.
I go first.
Go ahead.
Dave, Baker has had tremendous success since he left here and has played against the Panthers 4-0 and has just put up some incredible numbers. What do you guys got to do to slow him down? And of course, they got some guys that are coming back. Mike Evans is back. And,
Yeah.
I mean, what is the challenge ahead for that?
Yeah, this is a great group. They got their full, starting skill group that they thought they would come into the season with. Baker has done an amazing job with just orchestrating the whole thing, distributing, and then also just got to factor in the part that he's going to try to win the down, whether it's with his legs, whether it's with his brain, or with his arm. And so it's going to call upon us to just know where they're at, know where they're trying to put their people at, play off of each other, have that leverage, and there's discipline in the rush plan that has to come to life, because he is another guy that will find wins on third down with his legs, so to extend drives, and So we have to be aware of that, and we have to make sure that we're up for that challenge.
Dave, Corbett said something last night about everybody's got to lock in for the next 3 weeks, even though it's holidays, it's family, all these external distractions. How do you manage human beings this time of year when there are so many things out and around them?
Yeah, just remind them, what makes Thanksgiving great is when you win that game that week. What makes Christmas great is when you win that game that week. And this is our job, and this is what we're called to, and it's a gift. This is a blessing to be able to do what we do, and it goes through the holiday season. We have to be able to focus on this opponent this week, right now. And our families, we love them, and we'll see you when we see you. And we have to be all hands on deck when we're doing this. But that's what we all sign up for. My wife Lizzie will be the first one to tell you that. She knows this is what we signed up for. This is a lifestyle. We wouldn't have it any other way because it's a beautiful time of year to be able to do this, but it's going to require our full focus. Yeah. Thank you.